Alrighty, knuckleheads. Welcome to Grumpy Grandpa Patriot Show. And today is a special day. We have Whiskey and Sunshine. Scott and Shelly are here, and we're just going to talk about all the stuff out there going on in the world today. And I think we're on the same page. So it's going to be a really fun and interesting show if you're conservative. You might not like it if it's not.
Right.
Might be interesting even if you're not. Might be maddening.
So I'd like to start out, and I'm sure Debbie, if I let her speak, will have a couple questions too. All right. But I usually do all the gabbing. But so you guys live in Maine, and you don't have to give a specific town if you don't want to or anything, but how's everything going up there, and how is your government handling all the situations going on right now?
Well, we have a Democrat governor. I could probably stop right there, but I won't.
Short show.
I won't because she's turned into being quite a I don't know what you'd want to call it. I guess power hungry. Now that she's got a taste of this whole, I can mandate things and make you do it without going through the legal system.
Yeah, what's up with that? Yeah,
that's what she's doing all the time, and now everything's a mandate. She's not suggesting that the House or the Senate do anything, as far as our local laws are concerned. She's just bypassing the whole system and doing everything herself, and it's not good. Because she's against pretty much everything that we stand for, but she's been one of the first governors to jump up and tell President Biden that he can relocate all of the Haitian refugees or whoever's coming over the border that he wants up here. She's already planning to take tens of thousands of them because, of course,
good votes, right?
Those will be Democratic votes. So
yeah,
that's what she's hoping for.
So in other words, you're going to be the next Minneapolis.
Well, I don't know. I've never been to Minneapolis, but yeah, I'd say we're probably our whole state is going to be more like Portland and Lewiston and Auburn are. We've already got a huge population of Somalians and Sudanese that were brought up here over the past 20 years that really have pretty much destroyed our welfare system and probably taken a whole chunk out of our Social Security money. But it is what it is. I mean, there's absolutely nothing. We have no say-so in any of that. And even if we did, she'd bypass it with her emergency powers because that's what she's doing.
Well, in Minneapolis, they had the influx of refugees from the
Syria.
From Syria.
Was it Syria?
Yeah, all the refugees back, in that one administration that we so dearly love, that brought them all over. And then they put a lot of them in Minneapolis, and then they voted in, what was the one that Omar, yes, married her brother.
Yeah, that's where she's from. Yeah,
and she's a treat. Yeah, and the whole town of Minneapolis is just a nightmare now. In fact, they used to have X Games whenever I was running my satellite truck. They used to have X Games in Minneapolis. I think they moved it out to somewhere else because they probably, that town is a mess right now.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the pattern. I don't know what they did to all these Democrats to turn them into such. I mean, in my world, you never knew your neighbor's politics really, except maybe around election season, you'd see a sign in their yard or something like that. But it wasn't something you talked about. Now people are fighting all the time, and everybody's at odds with each other, and you got that going on. And it's so hard for people to believe. I don't think people actually have a handle on what's really happening. I really don't. I think they're just, I don't know. I think it's like they keep their head down and hoping things will get better. But as long as these people are in charge that openly tell you that they've studied Saul Alinsky and all of his tactics, this is what we're going to have, or worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better because this is their stated goal. They want to destroy the whole system and rebuild it as something else that they want. They want everybody. They really do want a world fairness, and they can't bring the rest of the world up to our standard of living. So they're going to take us down, and we're going to be down where the rest of them are. And it's happening every day. It's a little bit, at a time.
Yeah. No.
But they try to do it slowly so you don't notice, but they're too good at bragging so that you see it.
Well, they've been doing it so, like I said, whenever I was growing up, same thing. I went to college.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who anybody's politics were. We just went to the parties and had fun and had a great time.
Right.
And our freedoms were still, pretty good. So you didn't notice that they were being or you just didn't. Things were still good. I was still having a lot of fun, so I wasn't aware of it or paid attention to it at that age. But now, like you say, now it's out in the open.
They've turned normal, well-meaning people. They've turned them into hateful. And I mean, I could list actual people that I've seen this happen to. That, I mean, some of these people were the nicest people you'd ever expect. They were true Democratic liberals. They were the first people that would jump in and help. If there was ever something bad that happened, they were always the people that organized, town efforts to raise money, or, like if somebody got burned out and their house burned down, they were the first people that would organize. Yeah. They were really nice folks. And then, I don't know, it must have been about 5-6 years ago, maybe longer, we started getting a lot of outsiders come to town. And I'm not talking the usual tourists. We got a lot of people, mostly all the same age, all the same haircuts, ride bicycles around, carrying their little backpacks, and they were mostly late 20s, early 30s, maybe up into the mid 30s. And it was almost like they were wearing cookie cutter little uniforms. Well, what they were community organizers. And they were actually paid to come here and meet with the county Democrats and have meetings and teach them how to fight and how to be nasty and how to I called it weaponizing the Democrats, but that's what they did. They took all these nice, well-meaning people, and I don't know, little by little they've made them hate everybody that isn't like them. And at the same time, they're supposed to be the compassionate party, they're supposed to be the ones who care about you, and not anymore. Not anymore.
The thing I got is
that's what I see.
Is those same people that are being paid for right now don't realize that once their job is complete, they are going to totally throw them aside also and put them down with everybody else. And they're just being used to get their one world order agenda all pumped into gear, and then they're throwing them all under the bus if it gets to the point where they've got control out of everything. And they got control of the media, they got control of Hollywood, they got control of the news, they got control of all the narrative. So it's easy right now. Everybody's brainwashed. I did a show. I called it the occult. It's there's a lot of demonic crap going on out there. You can get that deep into it if you want to, but that's what the
symbolism is there. It's right in your face. They can't hide. Yeah,
tons of it.
Well, you're right. I agree with you 100%. And I don't know. We went so far. There's a local guy in town. He used to own one of the largest, if not the largest, business in the town, and of course he owned a lot of land. And they were after him like he was a pork chop on a string. I mean, they would chase because he was a land baron, and he, in his land was always open to the public to hunt, fish on. He never asked for, anybody to get permission or anything like that. But they went on one of those crusades, and they vilified this poor man who at one point probably employed better than half the town, and some research was done into where this money is actually coming from. And a lot of it's coming from out west over towards Hollywood. There's a big bunch of people that are participating in what they call the rewilding of the North. They want to buy up all of this country up here and force all of us to move into some kind of a city where we live in an apartment, and get rid of us all up here. They don't want us. They think this should all be one national park and they should own it. And what's really started the ball rolling up here is there was a woman who had a company named Burt's Bees, and she made lip balm and stuff, and it went nationwide. It was a popular thing, and it was made right here in Maine. Well, supposedly she sold the company for a lot of money, and she was the one that was buying up all this forest land. Turned out it wasn't her. She was a cover for the whole thing, and it was really this consortium of other people from out towards Hollywood that were behind it. I mean, they were spitting out some really, really upscale Hollywood liberal names of some of the people that were involved. And then most recently, it looks like the Orton Family Foundation that actually owns Vermont Country Stores is another big outfit that's laying down the money to pay these people to come here and, well, agitate, I guess would be the word for it. Well, it reminds me. It reminds me of the old movies you see about when the union guy comes into a coal town, and tries to start a union or something.
Yeah.
And because they, it all depends on what perspective you see it from. That's what it all boils down to. But they certainly have taken over social media and the local pages from this town on, like, say, for instance, Facebook are totally taken over by these people. You get shouted down for even having an opinion, and they've gone so far as to dox people, call their employers and ask them if they realize who they're employing. They've made it really hard for people. And this is Maine. I mean, this isn't New York City or Boston. To me, it's crazy. I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that, I had friends that I hunted with that were Democrats, so, I mean, it was quite obvious they were gun owners. They had hunting dogs and they were just Democrats, and it was no big deal. But now it's like this two armed camps, and they're just butting heads all the time. And we got really tired of that. So that was the driving force and why we moved to the woods. And I don't know if we're far enough in the woods yet.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we may need to jump in even further.
Debbie's been saying the whole time, they're buying up, the property. They don't want us to have our own property,
No, they do not.
If they had their way, we wouldn't own our own houses. We wouldn't own our own property. We wouldn't own anything. And they're slowly trying to move it to that. And so Debbie's covered that a lot. And on your saying about unions, are they good or are they bad? Sometimes they've been good. Sometimes I was talking to one guy that's in the TV industry, and he was mad because, with streaming going on, they're giving them a streaming rate, which is less. But streaming is becoming more popular than really the cable. So they're saying, hey, we should get paid the same to do streaming as we do to do cable. I hope our union sticks up for us. And I'm like, well, what about the jibby jab and, the mask thing? All the talent they get a waiver, they don't have to wear it, but all the people working have to wear the mask and get the jibby jab, but the talent doesn't. I was like, is your union going to stand up and say, that's bull? Whose side is the union going to be on? Are they just getting paid to push, the lobbyists and the Democrats, and because they side with the Democrats most of the time, or
right, which I never really understood, but you're right, they do.
Yeah, they do.
You think they wouldn't, but
and
our daughter actually is in the union. She's actually a Teamster, believe it or not.
Well,
and it worked out well for her.
Yeah.
Because during this whole thing, the union actually stood up for the employees' rights. So for her, it worked out rather well, because when they were trying to force them to wear masks and stuff when they didn't feel they needed to, the union did step in and said that it was going to be left up to the employees' discretion, not the company.
Although now they are talking that they are for the jibby jab. So
yeah, the union is. Yeah,
the union is. Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's hearing about that,
and it's tough.
My employer Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it's just tough with the unions because they do good things, but they also take a lot of money for, the protection too, and a lot of that money gets squandered too. So, I mean, it's I'm not.
They're just politicians. They're the same as politicians. They do the same thing politicians do. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Yeah. Go ahead now. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I don't even know if I remember what I was
I know
say.
I knew that would happen. I knew it.
My employer has actually been really good about it, but we're getting emails about it through our company email server all the time. But he actually was on TV saying that he wanted to have nothing to do with this mask mandate or vaccine mandate or any of that. We've done really well to get through this with no more sickness than we've had. So in his world, it's hard enough to get people to do the kind of work that we do anyway. And if he starts requiring people have the jibby jab, then he knows that he's going to lose a lot of people that he can't replace.
Yep.
Because some of them are highly skilled people. But I don't know. Time will tell what's going to happen. Our governor has stepped in and said, not only will you have to have the shot, but if you haven't had the jibby jab, if you haven't had it and something happens and you're out of work because of the virus, then she's not going to pay you any of your unemployment benefits either. She's going to keep them.
Yep.
Turn them over to the general fund, which is basically money for her. So I'm not sure how that works. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's not legal, but the problem is people don't understand the power that they have. We don't have to let these people do this stuff to us.
I'll just say, I'll walk out. Boy, they'll change their mind in 2 seconds. Even if the people that did get it or didn't get it, if you just all stuck together and just said, no, we decide, and all walked out, then, and then if the truckers do it, oh my goodness, it's, game on,
Even the people that have had the shot would see how ludicrous that it is to try to force people to take something. I mean, if you want to take the shot, take the shot. It's but that's your health. It's your body. You should be in charge of what goes on in there, not, some bureaucrat named Janet Mills in Augusta, Maine. I mean, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. She was a district attorney, and now she's trying to push that whole pushy district attorney mentality on the whole state. Now, we've got an election coming up in 2022, and our old governor, who was already 2 terms, is coming back, and he's going to run again. And I'm pretty sure he's going to slaughter him. But he will. He'll slaughter him as long as they don't come up with another way to use this ranked choice voting and stuff that they've initiated up here, which means you can vote for somebody and they want you to pick a second choice and then a third choice, and then everything is ranked, and depending on how it goes, they get to choose which of your votes that they use, which to me that's unconstitutional too. But people, they seem to think the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is some big difficult thing. It's all like people that don't want to read the Bible because they're afraid that it's such an undertaking. Oh, my word, look at the size of that book, and I'll never understand. It's the same thing with the Constitution. That document was written for normal working people to be able to read. I mean, some of the language in it may be a little archaic because it was from the 1700s, but I'll tell you, most anybody, if they put their mind to it, can pick up a copy of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and understand, especially this day and age, they'll understand how bad we're getting screwed. I don't need a lawyer to interpret to me what our Constitution says. I can figure that out on my own.
Well,
they like to.
That's what
they like to make you think you do.
Telling people is you've got the Constitution, and who's right, what side am I on? People are saying, "No, Mark, you're the one that's wrong," and everything. I'm like, who is trying to change the Constitution or go against the Constitution? It's very black and white. It's very simple that I believe I'm on the right side, because no matter the government was maybe the military to protect us. That was going to be it. They weren't supposed to feed us, to give us Social Security. They weren't supposed to do any of that stuff. It was, people around you could feel generous to you and stuff like that, but the government was never supposed to. And my Lord, we're sending all our money overseas and everything else. And I'm like, I can't even think of the
We
ones.
leave it on pallets now. We leave it on pallets for the Afghanis. Pallets of cash.
$400 million. Well, we're doing it already for the same playbook is going on right now in Afghanistan that went on in Syria with, there's so many of these now. What was the one that ISIS,
Benghazi.
ISIS.
That's what the whole deal in Benghazi was all about. That was nothing but an arms and money grab.
Yeah.
That whole thing. That's all it was.
It was just to literally be able to give them
missiles from Syria.
Yeah, with clean hands. Say, well, we didn't give them to them.
Yeah.
They just, it just fell in their hands. It's like, no, you didn't. You gave them to them. It's the same playbook. But don't.
Right.
That's.
We're kind of up against it where we're just grains of sand in this sandbox. There's not a lot you can do as an individual.
No.
I mean, I guess by now just talking about it is probably the best you can do, but it's hard not to do it without getting somewhat passionate about it. And unfortunately, the more passionate you get, the more people tend to think you're not. Although I've noticed in the past few years, I have people coming to me and going, how did you know?
Yeah.
All those years you've been saying this was going to happen. How did you know? It's like, because I had a pulse. I don't know. I saw it coming. You should have seen it coming too. Why didn't you see it coming?
Did your own research.
Right.
But yeah, that's why we do this show. I don't have that many people, and neither does two old people on a couch. But if we can give it in a more lighthearted way and you use the softball to predict the future, it sounds stupid, but like you say, you saw it coming. I know what the playbook is, so it's easy to look into the softball and say, this is going to be what happens next, and by gosh, it always happens, So if we could just reach one person, we're winning. If we reach more than one, we're doing good. And, the younger kids are starting to kick in a little bit. We got, like, Salty Cracker is doing a whale of a job waking up people. Mark Dice, who's and
Mark Dice.
Did you watch? And
it's like somebody used to listen to the AJ show.
Red Pill 78 is another young guy. And We Know. I don't know if you ever get on Rumble, but there's a guy over there called And We Know. It's a great channel, and he's a good Christian guy, and he has a way to just show all the evil crap going on too. So there's a lot of people getting out there. And people are seeing it a little bit more and a little more. It's just like whenever Trump did his rally, we can't really talk too much about that. That's a big no-no.
Right.
But, they did some counting out there in Arizona. And he had a rally the other night, and he just spilled it all out how many, he only lost by 10,000 votes. And, like, there's a whole bunch of segments that are like 20,000 illegitimate here, this, and then the news still says, no. It just proved that he, didn't win. I'm like, it's thousands upon thousands of, things that they sent in.
If you recall, the news media, they had the fit when the ballots were being counted on election night. They had a big fit and actually came right out and said, they decide. Yeah. So they weren't worried about the rest of the votes. They decide. And I was like, well, that's a hell of a statement to make. I got people on MSNBC and CNN saying that they get to decide. And but the thing is, I guess they're right, aren't they? Because they pretty much friggin' did.
There's only 5% of the votes in for Virginia, and they were calling that already. And that was one of the I bet you if any state there was some weird stuff that went on, I bet you because they're like, oh no, we got Virginia in the bag. And I was like, 5% of the votes are in. How can you even call anything that early on? But boy, they want to make sure that in the minds of the people, they wanted to know earlier on that state was definitely, Virginia was easily.
Well, to give you an idea what's happening up here, one of the reasons they want to import these people from away, I'll call them, Maine has 2 congressional districts. And one district has the major cities in it. And that district is traditionally very liberal. And the other district is traditionally very conservative. So if you look at a map of Maine, most of Maine is red. It's only southern Maine and along the coast that's blue.
Yeah.
But when they did the last census, of course, all of these people who aren't citizens but are here all got counted. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to shift it around. So they're trying to make my district take a couple of large cities. And they're saying, oh, well, you guys should love that because you'll have that much more voting power. Yeah, but what it does is it's turning our district back blue.
Yeah.
So Maine's going to be a blue state.
Yeah.
So they're doing it on more than the presidential level. They're doing all this little stuff like ranked choice voting and all that. And now they're going to redo the congressional districts and try to make it so that the blue wave is going to, it kills them to see all the state of Maine being red and only the cities in the coast being blue. So they got to do something, right? I got an idea. Let's import a bunch of whatever from wherever, and we'll keep feeding them. And that way, we know they'll vote for us.
I know whenever they made the see, this is one thing, you can't really do it because you can't change anything. But I wish our forefathers would have done a couple things and said, one county, one vote. If they would do that, it would be fair because each county, no matter how many people were in it, would get, one vote. And that way it would be a landslide for the, the areas, the population and density and everything like that wouldn't matter. It would be more equal for the little town to have just as much voting, say as a big city that has tons of people in it. And then the other thing is they should have just passed where they said you can only pass one thing in a bill at a time, line item. Boy, if those two things would have gone on, we would have been a lot better.
If you look back, that was the original intention. If you look back at the history of it, but they changed a lot of things. 1913 was a very bad year. That was the year that they changed it over. The vote, the way our state representatives were elected, changed in that year, and also of course, that was the year the income tax came in. There was a lot of terrible things that they passed last minute in 1913. That was when this stuff really, really started to really come about. And you can go back to your Rockefellers and oh my word, all those people that were in that. It was crazy. And that's the thing, a lot of people got upset with Mr. Jones and his radio show. But you can say what you want about Alex.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
He was right most of the time.
Yeah, you can't say it's conspiracy anymore. Boy, everything he's nailed, even way back, is dead.
Yeah, it's not a theory now, right?
It's right. He was right about. He was talking about mandatory jibby jabs back as early as 2012 and stuff. Having guests on saying, "Yeah, it's coming. It's coming." It came.
Well, look, that's what happened to, and I know he's not very popular. They've demonized him now too, but Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
He had a successful TV show for a while, right up until he got talking about depopulation and things like that. And all of a sudden, pow, he was gone.
They shut him up real quick.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they had somebody they, made out to be a national hero and, made it sound like he'd done. Oh yeah, that was terrible.
That was a great show we had.
Yeah, it was a very good show. And a lot of the thing is, it brought people who didn't follow that stuff into that light, so they could get an idea about, holy, this is true. It's really going on.
Yeah.
And people now, there's nowhere to get that. They can go back and say, oh, your tinfoil hat's on too tight. Well, I don't care what they say. I can pretty much see with my own two eyes, and they brag about it.
Yeah.
That's their problem. They can't stop bragging about it. And
Well, it's almost like they have to project. I think, I don't know, magical powers or demons or whatever, but it's true. They have to project what they're going to do before they do it, actually. It's kind of weird. I think it gives them more power, something like that. And
Almost like the old Billy Jack movie, where he says, "I'm going to put this foot up beside this side of your head," and then guy laughs. I says, "Oh, really?" Because then he does it.
yeah.
But yeah, they do that all the time. They'll tell us what they're going to do, and everybody will laugh, and then they turn around to do it. Oops.
Yeah. And,
But I don't know. I think probably one of the best things people can do right now is instead of spending, I know it's going to hurt our YouTube channels, but instead of spending so much time on the internet, maybe they should pick up a book and read.
yeah.
There's a lot of good books out there, and they're going to need to know a lot of these things because I feel that things are going to get a whole lot worse, and probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, just tell them to study the Third Reich and the tactics they used to do what they did, and not too much good came of it. But I mean, Goebbels and the other guy, Himmler. Yeah, even before Hitler came along, they were studying the occult, whether it was to figure out how to brainwash people, or they actually believed that the occult worked. But they did that. They used science, to push their agenda. They used the Reichstag fire. They burnt down the Capitol so that the communists.
It was a radio station they took first, right? It was either in Poland or Finland. Yeah, they attacked a radio station and blew it up, and they dressed all the people up in military uniforms and said that they'd been invaded. And that was just before the Reichstag fire.
I didn't hear about that.
Well, yeah. That was if you look it up, I think it was I want to say it was Poland. And that was their excuse for invading Poland, I think, if I remember correctly, when they were really first cranking up
propaganda.
But, I mean, these people around here on the little 10-speeds running around with their backpacks being community organizers, they think they're pretty cute right now, but they're going to end up just like the SA did in the Night of the Long Knives if they're not careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't end up really well for most of those fellows.
Well, like you say,
being a brown shirt was only popular for a very little while.
Yeah, pretty soon there's going to be a power struggle on who is actually the one in charge of, the people doing the nefarious stuff. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens.
I mean, that's not brewing. You can see that.
Yeah.
You can see that every day.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at our president. The man can't even have an intelligent conversation. Yeah. I mean, he can't even, I don't know what he's thinking about, pudding or crayons or what's going on with him, but between him and Pelosi wanting her bottle of gin or whatever, I just.
What's your take on the whole France being, us giving nuclear subs to Australia and, France being mad? What's your take on, I can't figure out what's going on with that, because Australia right now, I don't think is, they're way ahead of us whenever it comes to the New World Order. And
and they've also, in the past, jumped right into bed with the People's Republic of China somewhat. There's a lot going on with them. I want to say, of course, we've followed suit, but I think most of their ports and stuff are now under the control of the Chinese and have been for like a very long time. So they have to be really careful. I think that will probably even, I can't say for sure, but I think that all started happening right about the same time they did away with their boomsticks over there too. Everything happened all at once. See, that's another thing, here I am in the woods of Maine. You'd think having a gun would be almost a requirement, but I don't have to go very far. And if you had a gun rack in your back of your truck, you'd be in a fist fight in 5 minutes. I mean, you can't do that. You can't have gun racks in your truck anymore. We grew up that way, but if you're really asking for trouble now if you've got a gun rack.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I know.
You will be accosted.
Well, hold on. And that is completely nuts balls.
I feel it is.
I was like, that was good.
Yeah, I do. I like the nuts balls.
Yeah. I know. I was going to try to do a little bit, but the conversation has been really good. And, I'm sorry that Debbie's been a little bit winded here. And
Shelly.
and
Shelly's
Shelly.
been
You know,
wounded too.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Well, what do you think,
I-
girls?
We get too
Yeah.
much. We get talking too much, Debbie. It's just how it is, right?
Let's
Yeah.
let the girls
Mm-mm.
interject something, right? Do you want to
No,
interject
I'm
anything?
good. I'm good. Shelly, do you want to talk?
Fine, just listening and
Yeah.
taking it all in.
Yeah, it's his show.
We just have you girls on for ratings. You know
Yeah.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eye candy.
Yeah, Shelly's the eye candy.
It's gonna plummet.
So let's see.
Plummet.
Believe it or not, we've been
Plummet.
going for 35 minutes. Do you guys want to go a little bit longer? Let's say to about 45 minutes. We'll cut it off, and
Well, that sounds good.
I'm just trying to think of.
I have a question.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so on a different subject, have you seen any shortages going on up in your way yet on shortages of supplies or stuff like that in the stores or anything like that? Or what do you see going on in that respect?
Yes, some, not a lot. As well, up to about a week, 2 weeks ago, we were fine. Now we're starting to see a lot more. A lot of Gatorade sold out, a lot of juices, and I'm not sure if it's. I don't really know why. Some people have said it's because of the plastics. It's hard to come by, or if people are buying it up because of the sickness going around. That I don't really know why, but that's been happening.
Yeah.
One of the workers at Walmart told me that. She said, I hope you're not here, because I went down that aisle. She said, I hope you're not here for Gatorade because it's completely sold out. And we just put it on the shelf. And I was like, no, but why?
It's been weird here. There have been shortages right along since the whole boogie woogie flu started, but it's been spotty and it's been weird stuff. You could get, like, if you wanted, say you wanted a bag of chicken patties or something, you could probably go get a bag of chicken patties, but they might be not the kind you usually buy.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something you've never heard of before.
Or it's not the store brand. It's
Yeah.
always the
high end.
It's Campbell's chicken noodle instead of the store brand chicken noodle soup. That
And
type of thing.
was it distilled water? You said the other day couldn't get anywhere.
Yeah, we have to have distilled water for our batteries, and
We're gonna have to start distilling our own water, I guess,
yeah,
to
that
fill our
was
batteries with.
sold out. And I don't know. Again, plastics. Debbie, do you know
I've
why that is?
heard it's the plastic that they're having a hard time getting a hold of, and aluminum cans. So there's a shortage of soda to a certain extent, but I think it's the aluminum they're having trouble with. And
Yeah.
here it was paper plates for a while. Like you.
Yeah, what's your deal? Yeah, we had that.
I mean, I know it was school season and people were buying paper plates for school and stuff, but you would go down the paper plate aisle and there was like no paper plates. I think it's a little bit better now, but I finally got my hands on some paper plates. So
To actually put hands on
yeah,
little
so that we can
fingerprints.
make handprint.
It's a shortage because these ladies are
No,
buying up all the
stop.
plates to make their yard art with and everything. That's what it is.
But
They're crafting it.
I have
Yeah, that was like that here too.
yeah, I did hear on the Gatorade and stuff that it is the plastics that they're having a hard time getting a hold of.
Speaking
So-
of
and I
plastic-
hadn't heard the distilled water, so that's interesting.
I'm just glad we got a hold
Yeah,
of these bad boys before they went out of stock. That's what I.
Right.
It's probably some of it's probably regional. I'm guessing too. It depends on where you are as to what you can get. But I know I heard Biden and I also heard our governor talk about this vaccine mandate, and if you don't get it, they're going to start pulling states' professional licenses. So, for instance, like I have a high pressure boiler license. I had to go back to school to get it before I could even sit for the test. And they're talking like if you don't get the shot, you know, we may pull your license. They're doing the same thing to like licensed electricians. And I'm wondering, probably the push is on with CDL truck drivers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I know a lot of those fellas, they're saying that they're going to keep driving right up until they tell them, you know, that they're fired, and they're not going to bother to take their rig back where it belongs. They're going to park it right on the interstate and walk away.
Yeah.
Boy, that'll be a sight.
I
You
think
want to think? You think you got shortages now?
Yes.
it's going to come. I really honestly believe the
You're
truckers
right.
will go on strike if it comes down
Yeah,
to that.
well, one way or another.
Yeah. Well,
One way or another.
I guess they don't go on strike. They're just fired, I guess. But I think even the truckers that have the jibby jab will go on strike with them. They're a pretty good bunch
Oh,
of
yeah,
banded.
right.
I think they'll all stick together. I believe the majority of them.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I think slowly people are waking up to realize that things aren't what they're being told. We've been told that. I saw somebody babbling on the other day about how we've surpassed the Spanish flu epidemic. Now, come on. I no, there's no way. Then that
No.
is a total lie. I'd like to know who made that chart or graph, because I'm telling you right now, no way.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
That was a deciding factor in World War One. Not World War One, but I mean, it was and the wars going on at that time. It was a huge thing. I mean, they buried a lot of people.
well,
And I know we've lost some people, but up here they've changed the wording. Now they don't say somebody died of COVID; they say they died with it.
You're supposed to say that.
Just think, whenever some of the first like world events started happening is in your time frame that you're talking about, 1913 to the first, World War, to the Fed being, the Fed being established, and a lot of controlling factors that took the power out of us. It started probably all the way back then to where there's certain families, like you say, that are running the ship, the whole world ship going on there. Who knows who's the main one in power and everything like that. But all the way back from that time frame, a lot of world events happened back then.
Agreed.
It's happening again.
Agreed. And I mean, I do think, there was that whole, the Four Families project where they actually wanted to keep all the breeding within four families because they thought they were that superior to the rest of us. These people are crazy. They've always been crazy. There's no reason. We can't rationalize crazy. You can't do it.
No.
So I invoke something I like to call driveway rules. If it gets bad enough, my driveway, my rules.
Yep.
And I guess I'll leave it at that.
I'll
let you use your imagination.
Well, on that note, I mean, we're going to have you back. This is not the last time we do it.
Fun.
I think it's great having more people can see, more people that are seeing what's going on and everything. And I'm not saying, hey, don't take my word for it. Don't take your word for it. We're just going to give you some information. Go look it up, and decide for yourself. But, if they see a lot more, and it's this older generation that always sees it, it's up to the younger generation to do their research and study. And you young people are the ones that are either going to save America, or it's just going to keep on going downhill. And you won't have as much fun as me and Scott did, and Shelly, and we had a whale of a time, young people. So I'm going to leave it on that note. We had a great time, and our freedoms were already being chipped away. And you guys,
well, Mark, with all you've learned, us being probably approximately the same age, if you could give people today of all ages any advice on what's going on, just like some simple little bit of advice, what would be the piece of advice you'd give them?
Well, the people that are owning everything are the ones making the decisions. For one thing, like just take Bill G, the Microsoft guy, right? Everybody knows Bill G. I mean, he back in the 1990s, after his software is going gangbusters, he just started heavily, investing in biotech. I mean, you can go back, research it. He was interviewed. What are you getting into? Big time biotech. That's, I'm just throwing my money into biotech. Well, then he pretty much, owns the WHO and funds the WHO. He owns, and he's invested in all the pharmacies that do it. Gee, how did MSNBC get its name? Going out on a limb, Microsoft.
Well, wasn't he also the same guy that wanted to create a virus and depopulate?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Look his wife and
look that up. He says he wants to vaccinate the world to bring down the population. That sets up a red flag in my book. If health is getting better, if health is getting,
but they refuse to. There are people that would rather believe they're a lizard man living in the center of the earth and causing all this than they would to look out and see the good old Billy Boy is a maniacal sociopath, But hey,
then
I'd say if I could give anybody any advice, it would be buy food. Don't ask me what kind of gun to buy.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I mean, if you a gun, I mean, whatever. Don't ask me what kind of tactical gear to buy. I can't count on one hand the times that I've used things like that. But I'll tell you what, I eat every day.
Right.
Buy food.
I bet everybody does.
The supply chain, the all-knowing softball says the supply chain is getting much, much worse. Food, inflation, it's all coming. I didn't predict it. The softball did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the softball.
But you're right. Everything is going to get harder to get, and you're not sooner or later these young people are going to be like, hey, I used to own my house. I don't anymore. And it's just going to get crazy. Just wake up, people, before it's too late.
It wasn't too long ago I lent somebody the book The Patriots by James Wesley Rawls. And they got into it about 2 chapters, and they were like, well, this is like a book about what's already happened, because it was all talking about stimuluses and all that. And I was like, you need to keep reading.
Yeah.
Because we're getting into that. We're actually getting into it where the stuff that used to be a horror novel, as far as economy and everything goes, is now becoming true, and it's all fact.
Yeah.
And none of us can really do anything about it. We can vote, but that's already proved it. That's kind of you can do it. It makes you feel better, whether it matters or not. Well, the jury's still out on that.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do for yourself. So buy food, buy the things you need to live. Don't be dependent on anybody else. Try to get by, on weekends when you're home around the house. See how little you can get by with doing as far as your personal entertainment goes. Get by without TV. Actually, I find a lot of times we feel better when we don't watch much TV anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I can't watch the news channels because I just get so damn mad that I can't.
They're all every show there's no comedies. It's all about like CSI and some weird guy killing people. I shouldn't say that.
They've injected it into everything.
Yeah, you can't say the word K. What else? It's everything. They're like there's somebody evil in the town. It's all just doom and gloom. Is every new show coming out now too?
And learning old technologies of growing your own food, canning, being able to reproduce your food, knowing what you can eat, like that's in the wild, or where you can find, food that you can eat, because you can buy as much food as you want. Eventually, you're probably going to run out of stocked food if you don't reproduce it.
How about reproducing in the wild?
No, we don't need to reproduce in the wild.
Dang. All right. I thought that one might be a thing too. It was worth a shot. All right.
Yeah. Good question.
All right. On that. Okay. Well, let's cut this off now.
Yeah.
But it's too good of stuff to not do again. So hopefully you'll join us again here in the near future.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was.
It was.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say like I did, again, thank you. And like I say at the end of all my shows, be kind, rewind for the next person to watch this beautiful bean footage.